four-time European International Champion, of course, the Junior Division World Champion in 2011, and also a top 8 in the Masters Division in 2016, actually playing a Bronzong deck at that tournament, which was a totally rogue deck for that event, not something players were expecting over on Isaiah's side. All of his Masters accomplishments being listed there, not really featuring all of the ones that he has in the Seniors Division, of which there are certainly many, including a second-place finish at the North American International Championships.
Wow, and just to see even that many accomplishments here, only in the Masters Division too.
For one season, pretty much, yeah.
Exactly, so really both of these players, even though Isaiah is, I believe, a little bit younger here, being just aged up into the Masters recently, it's just absolutely wild to see both of these players who have been playing, I'm sure, since they were very young, and the culmination of all of that, playing all of the achievements into this matchup here that we are about to witness on the stream. An absolutely huge thing that is about to happen, and I am so excited to get into this.
Here we go, Boo. These players are cutting the decks. They're about to draw the opening hands. Best of luck to both competitors. And we'll have to see who can come out on top. A mirror match. It could go either way. It's going to come down to who's going first, who's got the better opening hand, and who makes the better plays.
And such a range of emotions that I'm sure both players are going through right now, thinking, you know, oh, I made it into top 8 with a potential ID, and then finding out, oh, maybe I did not make it. Who knows?
Right.
I could be really sad in a second, and then finding out I did make it. Here we go, and now you know who your opponent is. You now know what they are playing, and you're just preparing to try your best in this matchup. As you can see here, both of the players extremely friendly with each other, excited for this competition, I'm sure. And either way this goes, I think both of these players are rooting for each other and very happy to see either one of them succeed.
Yeah, I think that they're great competitors. They're definitely friendly, but I think they'd definitely rather be the one with the win in these spots.
Oh, that is for sure. And we are seeing some of these opening hands here.
That Radiant Greninja, the starter for Isaiah, not too bad.
Yes, definitely. That is a card that you want to have. Early game starting off, especially if your hand is not lined up to be too great, because it can secure you those couple extra draws. And here are the prize cards, very important.
Roxanne prized for both players.
Wow.
Neither one of them with access to that key. One of Isaiah's the one who has the best chance of getting access to it, since it's in kind of the middle of the prizes. Gustavo will potentially have access if he plays that Hisuian Heavy Ball and shuffles them up potentially. Wow, what a interesting spot.
Yeah, I think both players do play that Hisuian Heavy Ball in their lists as well, so we could see some shuffling of the prize cards on both sides here. But here we go, starting off, Isaiah Bradner going first here, and let's see the development of this first turn for Isaiah, how this is going to turn out. We just featured a mirror match for another Origin Palkia mirror match, and that was extremely reliant on these first turns and the setup there.
Quick Ball can discard Tool Scrapper, and now Isaiah will search out a basic Pokemon, eyeing up a Sobble potentially, maybe even a Palkia. I think right now Isaiah is doing what is a smart thing to do, and that is check his prizes, pulling all the Pokemon to the front of the deck. He wants to be aware of exactly what he has access to. There is so much on the line. He wants to know 100% what he is prized, what he does not have prized, and what he will have to work with.
Yes, and in deck searches, you are able to reorganize your cards, and that makes it much easier, as Chip just said, to kind of see what is prized. You only get so much time to search through your deck, so getting that first look is crucial to then formulating what your strategy is going to be going into this matchup.
Yeah, got to make sure we shuffle it up nice and good after that, though, because all those Pokemon are put together in kind of the same spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Shuffling is very crucial after reorganizing, because you don't want to not shuffle well enough and then sort of brick yourself out. So that is definitely a factor there, and I'm sure both of these players have much practice shuffling over years in their life, so I don't think we're going to have any sort of problems there.
And let's also not forget, for these top 8 matches, we do have an extended timer. For the Swiss rounds, which we have featured so far throughout this tournament, players have 50 minutes. But for top 8, they get an additional 25, so a total of 75 minutes plus 3 turns here for Top Cut.
All right, so Isaiah passing it over. Look at that opening turn, though, Chip.
Not the strongest, not the worst, at least got a sobble down, but there is a clear lack of Origin Form Palkia V on Isaiah's bench.
Absolutely, and now we are over on Gustavo's side here, also doing that deck checking. I believe it was off of the Capacious Bucket, so we are going to see both of those water energies drawn out, 2 of them that are able to go into hand. But of course, looking through that deck, I'm sure both players are now familiar that Roxanne is prized on both ends of things. So they, you could see Gustavo just nodding here, kind of taking all this information in, again, formulating a plan, I'm sure a strategy in his head right now, because this is such an important matchup and he needs to execute it perfectly, which I don't think is for any lack of trying on Gustavo's side, because we just saw this happen on stream very recently.
A couple of water energies grabbed off the Capacious Bucket. I do think Gustavo has a couple of Sobbles in hand, which is certainly very nice. There's that Origin Form Palkia V-Star and the Radiant Greninja in order to discard a water energy and draw 2 with concealed cards, looking for an Origin Form Palkia, I would imagine, and I think he did draw it right away.
That is awesome. So, oh wow. I think that was 2 Sobbles in hand as well. So the Palkia, the Origin Form Palkia now hitting the bench here, and we will see, here we go, Gustavo deciding to bench both of these Sobbles. So definitely a strong showing in the first turn here for Gustavo, going second as well. So still has the option for a supporter, but I don't think I even see one in hand. Chip,
yeah, no supporter here in hand, and actually no out to Drizzile. So this is a little awkward. He does play that copy of Crobat V, but putting that in play is an easy 2-prize swing for Isaiah, but there's a chance that Gustavo recognizes that he is pretty far ahead here already just because of what Isaiah was able to do on his first turn. He did not get a Palkia down, did not get an energy on it. So if he feels comfortable thinning this hand out a little bit, grabbing the Crobat, he just wants to see more cards,
there we go.
And he's going for it.
He is definitely going for it, that shiny Crobat as well.
And even has Ordinary Rod to put that Inteleon back into the deck. Definitely a piece he will want later.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we are going to see some draw off of that Crobat V with that Dark Asset ability. When it is played down to the bench, you can draw up to 6 cards in your hand.
You know, Gustavo won the European International Championships with Crobat V in his Urshifu deck. And at the time, there was really nobody else playing Crobat in their Urshifu list. And once again, we're in a position where not many players have Crobat in their Palkia lists. He recognizes the power of having this Pokemon that he can fetch off of any of his search cards to just extend his turn and really reach for any other combo piece. As we kick it back over to Isaiah, oh, of course, top decking it 1 turn late, does find the Battle VIP pass. It feels so good to have it early, but it feels so terrible when you find it on turn 2.
Yes, absolutely, because it is not able to be used on turn 2, unfortunately, but we are going to see the evolution into that Drizzile for Isaiah, able to search out 1 trainer card from the deck, and this is going to be a very crucial trainer card here for Isaiah, because as we already said before, not the strongest start here. He's sort of on the back foot, and he needs to decide how he's going to get an attacker out on the field here, and it looks like he's already eyed down that quick ball to be able to search out an Origin Form Palkia of his own in this mirror match.
And it's going to be really tough because any Palkia Isaiah puts in play is going to be a threat to be KO'd from Gustavo on the next turn. He can pretty reasonably pull together a Boss's Orders or Cross Switcher turn, and all Gustavo would need would be 7 Pokemon in play and a Choice Belt, 7 benched Pokemon, I should say. So.
All right, so Isaiah Bradner going for the Irida off of the Drizzile, so that will be the supportive return, and searching out those 2 cards. I believe it was the Origin Form Palkia And did you see the other one, Chip?
I do believe it was Quick Ball, which pretty quickly discarded that battle VIP pass, and it seems like
Easy discard.
a second Origin form Palkia V will be the choice.
All right, and that is definitely, I think, a good idea here from Isaiah, recognizing that there is the threat of that knockout on board state, kind of being on the back foot here. So kind of duplicating the strategy and getting 2 out would sort of offset that.
So Isaiah's not worried about playing around the bench size at this point. He really can't, honestly. He'd have to play a couple of scoop-up nets, which he does have, but then he has really nothing in hand to work with, so he'll just play it like this, get a couple Palkias in play, recognize, hey, it's likely Gustavo will pull off a play to take this KO.
No energy, though, Chip, on Isaiah's side there. So we did see the Pokemon laid out, but just a pass from Isaiah with that Radiant Greninja still inactive, and now we are back to Gustavo here. Very unfortunate to see, I'm sure, for Isaiah. I can kind of tell the focus is intensifying here. We are seeing the Evolution Incense now for Gustavo, searching out that shiny Drizzile over here, I'm sure, to go into another Shady Dealings and search out a training card from there, a trainer card from there for Gustavo as well.
We know Gustavo does play Cross Switcher in this list, as does Isaiah. Both of these players opting to play that Gusting option. So if Gustavo already has one in hand, he could grab another with this Drizzile or set up the Choice Belt or whatever else he may need. I guess now with 8 Pokemon in play, he doesn't even need Belt any longer.
No, which is very unfortunate for Isaiah, but Gustavo is looking to be in a very powerful position right now. As we said before, kind of drawing out of a sort of awkward hand with that Crobat V, and I don't think he is regretting it.
Has Boss's Orders as well, potentially as an option. Will choose to go with Irida. I know he does have that rare candy in the list, and I actually believe it was in his hand. Won't grab the Inteleon here, though. It's just going to be Drizzile and a scoop-up net.
There we go. So we see that off the Irida, grabbing that scoop-up net and the Drizzile, just showing it to Isaiah, and make sure we're walking through all of our plays here so everything is as transparent as possible. Checking the discard real quick for Gustavo. Still a lot of cards here. We are going to see a Capacious Bucket hit the discard pile, and 2 Water Energy being searched out with it going straight to the hand.
A couple energies added now. Can scoop up net to pick up Drizzile, which is what he will do. Sends up the Radiant Greninja. Does Gustavo want to target the Sobble on Isaiah's bench?
That could be a reality here soon, potentially. I don't think Gustavo has used the Concealed Cards ability either this turn, so we might actually see that as well, depending on how much energy is available to Gustavo that he could potentially use.
It looks like he'll just prep an Irida for the next turn, and you see this so much from the top level players, really trying to prep for future turns. That is what this Inteleon engine aims to do, build up a large hand size and just leave yourself with all kinds of different plays that you can surprise your opponent with things that they're not expecting at all.
Absolutely. Over the past 2 days, we've seen the Inteleon engine make probably the largest showing here for many of our decks, and you have so much control over your deck, being able to really just search out all the pieces that you need to shape together and make outplay the strategies that you have been planning throughout your matchups.
And this is a huge play from Gustavo. Gets the Manaphy on the bench as well, so Isaiah won't be able to do anything with his own Radiant Greninja. Otherwise, he would have been able to Moonlight, Slash, and target down a couple of support Pokemon. Now, that is not an option, and Gustavo will take out the Sobble and heavily damage one of these Palkia.
Yeah, absolutely. Using that V-Star power ability there on the Origin form Palkia to line up that Radiant Greninja and use the Moonlight Shuriken to take that knockout on the Sobble, and then also put 90 damage on that benched Origin form Palkia on Isaiah's bench as well. Isaiah choosing to evolve now into the Origin form Palkia. V-Star on his own side, still having the ability.
Oh, just a pass.
Not even a single energy. I think we have seen from Isaiah.
This is just absolutely awful. Not what you want to see. Isaiah did have a Drizzile in hand, but Gustavo took care of that poor Sobble. So Isaiah's just left with nothing to work with and passes it to Gustavo once again.
Yeah, Gustavo kind of playing the same as we saw in the last matchup too, just so much confidence, rolling with the punches here and just asserting a lot of dominance in this matchup and just capitalizing off of Isaiah's rough, very, very rough start here. Not even a single energy I think we've seen from Isaiah.
Irida cannot grab 2 item cards. It's got to be a Pokemon. I think Gustavo getting just one step ahead. Does get Scoop Up Net and Inteleon with its Shady Dealings ability. Now shuffling the deck. That tells me he likely wants to go for concealed cards before utilizing this Shady Dealings. I actually don't even see a Water Energy in this hand, though. Maybe he has a Melanie or Training Court to get that energy back.
Yeah, I believe that there's only one Training Court in the deck too, so that is the one. All right, benching that Origin form of Palkia V, putting the Training Court into play, grabbing that energy out of the discard.
And Gustavo is not concerned with attacking into these Palkias.
No.
He wants to worry about the threats on Isaiah's board, his setup, the thing that can get him out of this slow start in the one top deck draw that Isaiah could have had that would have helped him would have been an energy card. Taking out Greninja now eliminates that option.
Top decking the Melanie too, but there are no energy in the discard pile for Isaiah. We haven't even seen a single energy yet. Oh wait, is there?
I think he did play one early on in the game. Concealed cards was like the first thing he did this game, but just hasn't been able to get anything going since then. Draws 3 cards. There's a path and a Capacious Bucket. Okay.
There we go. So really bailed out then. There was a 1 energy in that discard pile that Isaiah was really able to capitalize on, top decking the Melanie and play out of that, attaching that water energy to the active Origin form Palkia V-Star, and then getting to draw 3 cards off of that and sort of play out of this hand to the best of his ability. Unfortunately, right now, Isaiah now has 2 Palkias who already have damage on them, which is a very discouraging position to be in, especially in a mirror matchup here right now.
Not ideal at all. Isaiah with a pretty large hand, but just not the most to work with. We see a Choice Belt, a bunch of Cross Switchers. These are such powerful cards, but with no Pokemon in play, Isaiah just can't even do that much damage.
Attaching there to the Origin form Palkia V-Star in the active position.
This will hit for 180 damage at the moment, which is still a sizable hit, but it is not enough to take the KO. And if you're not taking a KO on this Palkia, Gustavo's just going to continue to get further and further ahead. Isaiah maybe could have a path back into this with Roxanne, but we know he doesn't have access to the card. It's in his prizes.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate to see, and I'm sure Isaiah also knows that as well.
The second Palkia comes into play. Rare Candy sitting in hand. Inteleon comes out. Shady Dealings gets any 2 cards. And Leon plus Choice Belt. This is the same combo we saw from Gustavo in the win and in game. He's going to boost his damage output by 60 here. Also having quick shooting to do even more.
Yeah, Gustavo moving effortlessly through these actions, so familiar with these plays, knows the strategy. We've even seen a couple times he's kind of gotten 1 step ahead because he is thinking so many steps ahead.
That is the perfect math. 240 plus the 2 Inteleon pings from the previous turn in this one. 280 to knock out the Palkia, and Isaiah has a 90 damage Palkia as his only remaining Pokemon.
No other Pokemon here yet on the bench for Isaiah. This has been a grueling matchup so far, and we are looking into the hand here a little bit. Chip, I see 2 Cross Switchers, a Marnie, a Scoop Up Net.
Isaiah is one of the smartest players in the game. The fact that he is sticking around here tells me that he believes there's some realistic possibility that he has a chance. There is also the chance that he is, wanting to just play it out because there is the extended time. He knows that there's plenty of time in these games. There's no energy in Gustavo's discard pile right now, so there's a chance that bringing up this Crobat will buy him a turn. Actually, no, there is an energy, so maybe if Gustavo has the replacement stadium, which he does.
Isaiah playing the replacement stadium there, the path to the peak coming down with the Crobat V stuck in the active now for Gustavo, which is exactly what you were talking. Oh, we're going to see the Marnie here from Isaiah. It was in hand. I think this can do really nothing for Isaiah but help his hand right now. So we are going to see both players shuffle their hands, put it at the bottom of their deck, and then Isaiah, who activated the Marnie, is going to draw 5 cards, and Gustavo is going to get 4.
And there's all those energies that Isaiah's been wanting, and yeah, he sees the writing on the wall at this point. Didn't find the 1% chance piece, the 1% chance of cards combination that could have given him a path back in. He concedes the match, and Gustavo Wada goes up a game in top 8.
Yes, absolutely. Giving it his all still, as you said, even if it looked as bleak as it did, Isaiah is going to play it out because of the extended timer, as well as just knowing you kind of have to fight for your life here. This is to make it into top 4, which is where you want to be. And it is going to be an extremely stressful event for both of these players, but Gustavo, I'm sure, feeling very good now, being on the upper hand with that game.
Definitely a great place to be. Both of these players actually did make top 8 at the European International Championships, so they're both 2 for 2 on top cut appearances at the ICs this year. Gustavo, of course, was the inevitable victor. Isaiah did lose in top 8, though.
Wow, so yeah, they've seen each other on the international stage here before, and we are back again going into this matchup. Isaiah obviously getting to choose who gets to go first here because he is on the back foot, and I'm sure he is going to want to go first this time, and hopefully his first turn setup is a lot better than it was going into that first game, because Isaiah did win the coin flip and go first on the first game, but it did not turn out for him. Yeah,
his opening hand was just really weak, and it was almost like his going first advantage was negated by how weak it really was.
So hopefully we can see the advantage being taken here. Oh, that is going to be a mulligan, though, so no basic Pokemon for Isaiah in that hand. He's going to have to reshuffle his deck, draw a fresh 7 cards until he does get a basic Pokemon. Looking at the prize cards here for Gustavo.
A couple of cross switchers and that Radiant Greninja. Not the best. We do know Gustavo has that Hisuian Heavy Ball, so Greninja can be grabbed at some point. A couple cross switchers being prized is definitely awkward because it's going to make it even more difficult to pull off that combo turn.
I also don't know what it is about today. We've seen that multiple times now where 2 cross switchers have been prized in multiple games. So I guess that is a common occurrence. Here are the prize cards for Isaiah after resolving that mulligan.
That's not great.
No, at least one is closer to the bottom. If Isaiah does decide to draw from bottom with the prize cards, and we are going to start off this turn, as we said, Isaiah going first here with that capacious bucket, being able to look through the deck, sort things out here, make sure he knows exactly what is in the prize cards.
Where are my Drizzles?
Oh no, yeah, I'm sure that he is looking that up right now and
has one.
Has one.
At least one piece to work with, so that will be hopefully enough to get him rolling, like you mentioned, one kind of at the bottom. So if he takes a quick knockout, there is a decent chance he'll grab a Drizzile and have something to work with moving forward.
We have seen the scoop up net pulling a lot of weight in these matchups as well. So if Isaiah is able to get multiple Sobble down, then he can utilize that one Drizzile that he does have currently multiple times potentially on a turn. With those scoop up nets. So that is going to be a huge factor in this matchup as well. As you can see, as Isaiah goes through the deck, you see that he's kind of pulling a couple of cards to the top there, and you kind of see what he's glimpsing at, what he's eyeing down for potential strategies, the important cards in this matchup to last through this mirror match. We are seeing the Battle VIP pass.
Already so much better of a start than last time.
Absolutely. That is incredibly good for Isaiah here, being able to search out two Pokemon, two basic Pokemon, and put them straight to the bench. So this is going to help Isaiah propel himself into these turns, getting that Radiant Greninja, of course, which is going to give him extra draw support if he does have the water energy to be able to discard to that concealed cards, and then putting that first and potentially more Sobble down on the bench here so far. So a very strong start. I didn't get to see the hand yet, but we will see what other cards Isaiah has to utilize for this first turn setup that is so important in this matchup.
We know there's at least a couple waters here from the bucket, so great, can draw two, trying to advance the hand size. There's
that
a
concealed
boss.
Cards.
Inteleon, not a great pickup since Isaiah does not play the rare candy that Gustavo has access to.
We did see another Origin Form Palkia that is going to be benched right away for Isaiah.
He's got an energy to attach for turn as well. Potentially wants to hold on to that card, though, just in case he wants to use concealed cards on the next turn, but he values getting that extra energy drop this turn a little bit more.
Yeah, and here we go. It is the pass after the energy attachment from Isaiah, which is way more than the last game. So off to a great start here. Now it is passed over to Gustavo to hopefully set up the same. And because Gustavo has access to that supporter card because he's going second, we are going to see that Irida able to search your deck for a water Pokemon, basic or evolution, reveal that with an item card as well. So we will see what is grabbed there. Of course, that Battle VIP pass being a guaranteed pull off that Irida because of how important it is to get Pokemon out on this starting turn, and why so many of the Origin Form Palkia deck lists have chose to lead with Irida. Gustavo playing 3 of them in deck because of this move that we are seeing right here, how important that Battle VIP pass is on turn 1.
Isaiah is playing 4 copies of the card just because he wants to open it as often as possible. Gustavo actually only playing 1 single copy. The main way that he can access the card is on the times that he's going second and uses Irida in order to fetch it out. Effectively being a Bridget, you know, a good old classic supporter from the Breakthrough expansion that was played in decks for years and years and years because it just allowed you to set your board up fully.
Yeah, and that's interesting because it kind of explains 2 different types of play styles, you know. You could have the different options there. Gustavo obviously relying on that Irida to search out that Battle VIP pass, and if he doesn't get it on the going second, then it's just a discard fodder, essentially. So we did see that Capacious Bucket come down, searching out 2 water energy, going to the hand, one of them going down onto that Arceus, or sorry, not Arceus, Origin Form Palkia V on the bench.
No Manaphy comes down, though, and that is an opening for Isaiah to potentially use Moonlight Shuriken of the Radiant Greninja and target down 2 Sobbles on Gustavo's side and really try to slow down his setup.
Yeah, we did see that Radiant Greninja in the prize cards, I believe, for Gustavo as well, but Gustavo also plays that Hisuian Heavy Ball to get it out.
Irida from Isaiah now eyeing up a couple energy cards. That makes me think we're seeing a Capacious Bucket as one of the grabs. And the 1 lone Drizzile seems like a good option since there are 2 hiding in the prizes.
Absolutely. This Drizzile is going to become one of the most important proponents of these turns for Isaiah because it is the one factor until he can start to get into Shady Dealings and Inteleon. But we might not even see that. We might just see the scoop up nets to multiple Drizzile for turns as well, depending on what happens with these turns, the hands that Isaiah gets, and what he needs to search out and when.
So before using Shady Dealings, wants to concealed cards to draw a few. Very good sequencing. Would totally expect that from any player who's made it this far in the event to know the optimal time to use which of their powerful abilities.
Yeah, very high level play that you're witnessing on the stream right now.
Without a doubt. Now, I wonder if Isaiah will go for the Moonlight Shuriken. Will he try to target these Sobbles, or is it correct to just chase the Palkias, try to KO 3 Palkias and win the game?
That is going to be a very tough decision here. Evolution Incense for Isaiah going into the deck to search out an evolution Pokemon. Obviously, that Origin Form Palkia V-Star being what the grab is most likely going to be here.
I definitely would love to see Isaiah try and use the Moonlight Shuriken. I think it would be a solid play this turn. You take 2 prizes now, and then with just 2 Palkias in play, you have to try and reach for those big one-hit KOs. The thing is, Isaiah doesn't have access to the Leon that Gustavo plays. Also, I don't believe Isaiah has Echoing Horn either. So those are damage-boosting cards that Gustavo is playing that Isaiah won't have access to. So he'll be a little bit more limited in what plays he can choose to make.
Well, if Isaiah does target down the Sobbles, maybe he kind of limits Gustavo's ability to be able to play those cards because he's not able to search them out. So that might even be the play we go for here. And it looks like that is going to be what is about to happen here with that retreat. Radiant Greninja pulling the weight here, and the Manaphy coming down to the bench as well from Isaiah. So if there was some sort of alternate Radiant Greninja play from Gustavo, of course, it's still being in the prize cards for him. It is no longer available.
And Gustavo just being like, yeah, I'll throw these energies on there for you. Here you go, buddy.
Yeah, that was great, actually.
Take these energy cards, and these Sobbles are not long for this game, unfortunately.
Yeah, he knew exactly what was happening there. All right, so I think that is actually going to be a very strong play from Isaiah here.
Absolutely. This will really slow Gustavo down, limit his options as much as possible. And Isaiah's getting even more established. Shady Dealings grabbing a level ball. He knows there are 2 Drizziles prized. And if he's taking 2 prize cards here, that means there is a 33% chance, a 1/3 chance that he can take one. And the path to the peak here is excellent. Means that it'll be harder for Gustavo to pull off a Star Portal. He won't be able to use the Crobat that he plays, and he can't even use his Radiant Greninja.
Yeah, even if he had the Hisuian Heavy Ball to take the Radiant Greninja out, it would not be able to be used unless it can be bumped, unless the path to the peak can be bumped out of the stadium in play. But Gustavo only playing 1 stadium card himself, and that is that training court that we saw in the last game here.
Doesn't look like he found it in this hand. Finds Ultra Ball, which normally could get Crobat, but Path to the Peak does turn off the abilities of all Pokemon with a rule box. Of course, Crobat V with that V rule printed on the card.
Yeah, what we saw there was the Marnie for turn, for supporter for turn from Gustavo. Isaiah drawing into 4 cards and Gustavo drawing into 5, which is the current hand we're seeing right now. Now, going off of...
Oh, we're seeing the rule of the
there
region.
We go.
That first attack from Origin Form Palkia. A great way to find that one stadium, but not really the attack you ever want to be using.
No, you find the stadium, but you can't even play it just yet because you the attack then switches it to being Isaiah's turn here. So it is in hand for Gustavo. Isaiah now knows that as well, so it could even be a play to try to hand disrupt himself if he has the cards to do so. But also just a slim hand for Gustavo.
Now, what does Isaiah have access to? I feel like if he could get a KO on this active, it would be pretty strong. Irida is not the best start, since I think the only way for him to attack with a Palkia this turn would have involved utilizing Melanie, since he's already used that Star Portal ability. And there's nothing in this deck like Energy Switch to move the energy off of Greninja and onto a Palkia. Now Irida can grab a water Pokemon and an item card. It does seem like Origin Form Palkia V-Star is a decent place to start. And an Evolution Incense can maybe find a Shady Dealings Inteleon.
Yeah, there's actually only 1 in Isaiah's list as well, 1 Inteleon that I'm seeing. So I think I looked at that earlier and I was like, whoa, okay, that's what we're working with here. So not only does Isaiah have 1 Drizzile in this game right now until they're taken out of the prize cards, but also 1 Inteleon as well. All right, here we go, evolving into the Origin Form Palkia V-Star, retreating out of that Radiant Greninja into the Manaphy here.
This is the most expendable Pokemon on his side. And the Tool Scrapper, that tech item card, coming up big time for Isaiah, getting rid of a Choice Belt before Gustavo's even been able to attack and get value from the boosted damage.
Yeah, not sure if Gustavo expected that. per se, because there was no holding off. Well, even then, if there is some sort of hand disruption, you kind of have the option to either play the tool card or shuffle it back into your deck. So opted to play it there and was a bit punished, unfortunately, from Isaiah's tool scrapper. But still, Gustavo does have that Leon, so there's other options for that damage output.
Gustavo's having a great start to the turn here. Does get a Palkia V-Star and has the energy necessary to attack, but he cannot get a 2-prize KO here. No way to fill the bench up, find the Choice Belt, which has already gone down. Can't get that Intellion in play, and so he'll just have to be content KOing a Manaphy.
Yep, so he will take the 1 prize card here.
Still 2 cross switchers remain in the prizes and that Radiant Greninja now. Isaiah bought the turn he wanted. He sent up the Manaphy and said, okay, Gustavo, you can have this. Take this KO, take your 1 prize. That is A-okay with me. So how does Isaiah now respond? With Gustavo only having 2 Pokemon on the bench, there is no way for Isaiah to reach for a 1-hit knockout.
Yeah, Isaiah looking through that discard pile of Gustavo's, just seeing everything that's been played so far and making sure that all the strategies that he's going by, he's tracking what's going on there. There is the Echoing Horn in Isaiah's hand there, going off of an Evolution Incense now. For Isaiah, let's see what Evolution Pokemon he chooses to eye down here. It looks like that Shady Dealings Inteleon that I was talking about, the 1 in deck, and he might just grab that to evolve that Drizzile on bench and grab 2 trainer cards out of the deck. That's exactly what we're going to see.
I think an easy way for Isaiah to take a KO this turn is through Boss's Orders. That can bring up the Origin Form Palkia V on the bench. He's hitting for 200 right now, and that Echoing Horn is in his hand. He will give Gustavo the benefit of putting another Sobble in play for him, which I don't think he would love to do. But if it means he's getting a 2-prize KO, that is worthwhile.
Yeah, especially already leading in the prize race right now, down 2 prizes already.
Maybe if Gustavo could use his Choice Belt here, Isaiah could use his Choice Belt here, that would mean he could hold off on the Echoing Horn.
That's true. I think it's just eyeing down all of those strategies here.
Actually, another look, that belt is remaining in the prize cards still, so it's going to have to be the Horn.
Yeah, that is true. Those prize cards, very tricky for Isaiah here, both of those Drizziles and that Choice Belt as well. Heavy decisions here being made by Isaiah, even being in the driver's seat right now, kind of leading in the prize race. This is still extremely tense of a situation, already being down a game. So here we go.
Isaiah does need 1 more benched Pokemon. There needs to be a total of 7 benched Pokemon for him to hit for 200. 8 benched Pokemon for 220. So he needs a benched Pokemon and to play the Echoing Horn. I'm not sure if he had one in hand.
Let's see, attaching the energy to.
He's actually just going to take out the Drizzile. Okay, this makes sense. Target down the support line for Gustavo. It does mean that Isaiah takes an odd prize. He's opening himself up to being Rock Sand, and he's not dealing with these Palkias that can evolve and have a ton of HP.
But that prize was the Choice Belt as well that was taken out of the prize cards for Isaiah, so access to that now, which is very important going into these future turns.
A bunch of search cards in Gustavo's hand. He's got Quick Balls, Level Ball, Evolution Incense as well. Plenty of options, plenty of ways to get things set up.
Still has the Training Court in hand as well to bump that path to the peak, so there will also be options for abilities if that does happen, which there is the Star Portal V-Star Power ability that is an option. If the Hisuian Heavy Ball comes out and that Greninja is taken out of the prizes for Gustavo, we could see concealed cards as well. But we have to see what options Gustavo chooses to go with to lead into this turn.
This would actually be a good turn for Gustavo to try to use Moonlight Shuriken, but like we've mentioned, that Greninja hiding in the prizes can't concealed cards, can't use Moonlight Shuriken, so Gustavo just has to hit for 180 damage with Subspace Swell. Really feels not super strong whenever these Palkias aren't hitting for 1-hit knockouts.
All right, draw for turn for Isaiah.
Looks like one cross switcher. I'm not sure if he already had another in hand. That could create some amazing plays. He's got Scoop Up Net and Intellion, so Shady Dealings Intellion should just give Isaiah access to whatever he possibly wants to do here.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, we see an eye roll here. Isaiah just walking through these turns, I'm sure in his head, kind of planning out what he's going to do here, looking a little bit frustrated, but still leading in the prize race. Of course, is at a situation now where he can be rock sand into a two-card hand that could be a little bit detrimental, and I'm sure he is preparing for that extensively right now.
Lots of checking of discard piles here. You can see how important information is in this game, how important it is to know what your opponent has played. I'm sure these guys are pretty keen on what exactly they have access to in each list. And so knowing what your opponent can do, what they have remaining, what resources they have left can really impact your decisions.
Yep, all right, so we did see that evolution there of the Shady Dealings Intellion to search out two trainer cards from the deck, one of those being the Melanie and the other a cross switcher.
Pretty good grabs. We know that Isaiah top-decked a cross switcher, so we could see the energy acceleration from the Melanie onto the clean origin form Palkia V-Star, and that second cross switcher being played to Gust. Maybe that Sobble over on Gustavo's side, so Isaiah's trying to set up a play maybe where he has to just KO this one Sobble and then get through either of these Palkia V-Stars to win the game.
Yes, utilizing that Melanie, attaching the energy there off of the Melanie to the benched origin form Palkia V-Star, and then also drawing those three cards into an energy, attaching that energy, cross switcher into that Sobble here, and also promoting the origin form Palkia V-Star that has no damage counters, and it looks like he is going for that strategy of just targeting down the Sobble, the draw engine, thinking out the rest of this turn still, of course. Using
Scoop Up Net.
The Scoop Up Net, instantly going into another evolution of the Drizzile here. Shady Dealings activated on this Drizzile, being able to search out another trainer card. What do you think he's looking for here, Chip?
Well, he debated grabbing his own training court. This could be a play for him to try and Roxanne proof himself, so that if Gustavo does play the Roxanne but doesn't have any sort of disruption stadium, that training court remaining in play will mean that he can at minimum use concealed cards.
That is exactly what just happened here, Chip. The training court is now in play from Isaiah. We saw the training court lurking around in the hand for Gustavo, but was never played very strategically, I'm sure, because even though it did bump the path to the peak to use those abilities, if Gustavo was not going to be able to really utilize those abilities to his advantage, he doesn't want to give any sort of advantage to Isaiah with a training court in play that he can now just utilize himself.
And Gustavo's taken some time to thin here. Quick Ball discarding the Battle VIP Pass. These are all cards that he just does not want to draw if Gustavo plays a Roxanne or even a Marnie, something like that.
All right, now we see the knockout here on that Sobble, taking an additional prize card. It looks like it was the Irida for Isaiah, and going over to Gustavo's turn now. Only down one prize card here, so we will see what turn is followed up with here from Gustavo. Only 3 cards in hand.
Not much to work with. Quick Ball, though, may eye up the Crobat, a card that Gustavo loves to utilize. I wonder if this is the same Crobat he used to win EUIC. Has it made it into his NAIC deck as well?
Absolutely carrying here that Dark Asset ability, hitting the bench, and Isaiah just shuffling the deck here. Gustavo going to be able to draw up to 6 in this hand, which is great to see because there was, I think, only 1 card left in hand, so now he has way more options.
And one of those options is the Roxanne.
I saw that, the perfect card he kind of needed here.
There it is.
And Isaiah, I'm sure, expecting that.
Definitely.
Of course, not wanting to see it, but obviously I'm sure knowing that is always a potential here when he is down to 2 prize cards. Roxanne being able to be used if you are at if your opponent is at 3 prize cards or less. Isaiah is going to only have draw into 2 cards here, and Gustavo will draw into 6.
It's a big card advantage to have. The problem here for Gustavo, he does get the heavy ball, so we can finally see Greninja come out. With training court in play, he'll be able to draw a couple of cards. That is nice at a minimum.
That is exactly what we're seeing here right now, shuffling those prize cards back up, and we will see which order he lays it out into. Still one of those cross switchers at the top, so looks about the same as before as far as drawing into those, but now we have that Radiant Greninja. Training court taking that water energy out of the discard pile, concealed cards with that water energy drawing into 2 additional cards for the turn.
Capacious Bucket gets 2 water energies out of the deck now, and he even has Scoop Up Net to keep drawing with the Greninja if he wants to.
Yeah, so we're really seeing the bench develop here for Gustavo, the board state develop. That Crobat V carrying a lot of weight here on this turn.
Yeah, I can understand why Gustavo enjoys this card so much, why it is something he wants to utilize when he can. He's actually going to attach an energy to the Radiant Greninja. Isaiah did offer up the Manaphy as a pretty easy prize earlier on in this game, so Gustavo will be able to Moonlight Shuriken potentially at some point, and there's a bunch of damage on 2 Palkias here.
Yeah, that is scary to be looking at, but now we are over on Isaiah's side.
Let's check
starting
these prizes.
off.
What's he got available still? What's he got left in the deck? I don't think there's any cross switchers left. I don't think the bosses are, no, he does still have cross switcher. Are both of them in there? He does have both cross switchers. There we go. Drizzile can grab the other cross switcher. Cross switcher brings up the Crobat, and Isaiah has tied this set up, winning game number 2. We're going to a game 3 in top 8.
Here we go. Absolutely incredible play there from Isaiah, opting to go first in that round, having a very strong start compared to what we saw in the former game, and just pulling out a win there now, tying it up between both these players. It could not get any more intense than this matchup right here, right now, and we are about to see the conclusion in this mirror matchup of both Origin form Palkia V-Stars.
What a second game. So much better, so much closer than what we saw in game number 1. And now in game 3, Gustavo will likely be choosing to go first. And he is not as prone to excellent turn 1s as Isaiah is. He does not have the heavy count of Battle VIP Pass. He only plays 1 single copy and really only aims to use it on turns and in games that he is going second, when he can gear it up for a Pokemon plus the VIP Pass. So it's much, much harder for Gustavo to develop a board that will lead to a powerful turn 2.
All right. Okay, yeah, so we kind of were familiar with this matchup a little bit going into it, as we've discussed the mirror matchup before.
That's right, the mirror match both of these decks featuring the same main attacker, the same support engine, just a few cards different, probably within about 5 cards of one another or so. The specific techs that we've seen in these games have really paid off for players in those specific situations.
Yeah, definitely. And that Origin form, Palkia V-Star, proving its durability throughout this tournament so far. We have seen so many successful players piloting this deck, and it has been performing very well. Some people agree that it might even be the best deck in the format currently, and it has definitely shown so much of its strength in so many of these matchups so far.
We're just getting things shuffled up here. I think we're taking just a quick little break here for a moment. Quick pause in the game, and we'll be back soon with this match. These players just maybe taking a little stretch, you know, nature calling, whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
Quick little break here.
Fitting the theme of all of our days so far, all of our matches, where we keep leaving you all on these cliffhangers, unfortunately. But that is sometimes how things play out. But still, that matchup was so intense, Chip.
It really was.
And I am very excited to be going into an additional game here from both players in the future as well.
I'm definitely excited that we're getting a third game. It would feel wrong for one of these games featuring two top-level players to end in a 2-0 because they're both so solid and so strong as trainers, as Pokemon players, that they deserve to take it to a third game and see really who is the one that comes out on top, who is the one that's going to continue on in this event.
Yeah, and this list, or whichever the winner of this could actually, the list could pilot other players making those decisions for their own decks. You know, we see those card differences for each player that make huge differences in certain matchups. Maybe cards that some players didn't really think about teching into their decks before, but now they have seen why they are so important, the different play styles that you can carry out with those cards as well. And it is really cool to see the format shape a little bit from these incredibly skilled players trailblazing with their decks.
Yeah, whoever finishes the best with Origin Form Palkia will certainly heavily influence whatever other players decide to do in future tournaments, however they decide to build their decks. And it's going to have a big impact, once again, on the World Championships. We've talked about it a few times this weekend. The Worlds format is going to be very similar to what we are having in this event.
All right, but we are very happy to report that we aren't going to have to keep you waiting much longer because we are going back to the action here into our third game. I'm very excited to get into this. Both our players are back at the table now.
I'm ready to get things rolling. I think there was a sleeve replacement that had to happen, maybe. That could also be whatever the issue was. But regardless, getting things rolling back here once again.
Yeah, I think it looks like Isaiah may took the sweatshirt off as well. It may have literally just been that.
It's getting that intense up here.
Yes, exactly. So both of these players now shuffling up their decks. You can see on their faces here the pressure going into this matchup. It is not just a 2-0 situation. Both of these players are up a game on each other, and this is going to be essential going into this next matchup, how these first turns end up playing out for these players. Whether or not Gustavo chooses to go first or second here is also going to be a huge factor. And really, once these first turns come out, oh, here are the prize cards, Chip. At least for Isaiah on this side.
Nothing too bad yet for Isaiah. One of Galarian Zigzagoon is a way that he can reach for an early KO potentially, so that being there limits those options. Hisuian Heavy Ball won't even be a way for him to find it, as that is in the prizes. Over on Gustavo's side, the Shady Dealings and Tellium being there, not too bad since it's a lower prize. And here we go, Game 3 of the North American International Championships. Top 8, Gustavo Wada will kick things off, and oh no, this is not a good hand.
Oh wow, already quick balling out the Leon, which is kind of essential in this matchup. There were so many plays that we could have seen with it last game. And now Gustavo just quick balling for a Crobat V at this point.
It's looking like a Crobat and Prey. He's gonna have to thin out a couple of key resources as well. He's got the Tool Jammer in hand as well as Choice Belt. Those are both really powerful tool cards on your Origin Form Palkia V-Stars, but I think he's just going to have to thin them out and put them onto the Sobble and the Radiant Greninja that's in his hand in order to just draw cards on Dark Asset and try to get something going.
Yeah, absolutely. But once that hits the bench, you can only draw up to 6. So you kind of have to dwindle that hand down in a way, waste some of those potential resources, which could be very bad in the late game. We do see the Radiant Greninja come down here to the field. Tool Jammer attached to it, and we are going to see that Dark Asset ability drawing up to 6 cards in hand from Gustavo.
Looking for some help, and he doesn't find anything. It just passes over to Isaiah. This is a massive opening.
This is huge. Isaiah, I'm sure, feeling very confident going into this turn 1. I didn't get to see the hands, but I'm sure this is exactly what you want to see from Isaiah.
You know his heart is racing right now.
Absolutely.
He smells the blood in the water. He is after this game. He wants to capitalize on this poor start. Checking the prizes really quick, counting all of these Pokemon out, wants to know exactly what he has access to and make the best play possible.
Yeah, this is incredible. Absolutely intense here. So much on the line for both of these players. And Isaiah now being so so close. Both of these players being so close to a potential win in this matchup. So just searching through the deck now, looking what is prized. As we saw before, nothing too important, I think, for Isaiah's strategies here, but still wanting to go through there, make sure he has everything he needs in his deck to piece together his strategy to hopefully take this win. He needs to have a very strong turn one to just assert dominance over this matchup. Being on, going second for Isaiah, he does have the option to supporter as well. So that is very strong for him too. Gustavo, I'm sure, not feeling too good about having to go first, but being now in the same position that Isaiah was in the first game, where he's going first, but did not have a good first turn setup, which is definitely something that can happen, unfortunately. So here we go. Isaiah quick balling out a water energy to search out a basic Pokemon from the deck.
This can grab the Radiant Greninja. Isaiah does already have another water energy in hand from this Capacious Bucket. So concealed cards will draw 2 and also throw another energy in the discard pile. And I actually think Isaiah is also sitting on a Melanie. So worst case scenario, he could get an energy accelerated back into play through that. I think he's going to be looking for an Irida, though. Would love to find Irida and get a battle VIP pass, flood the board with Sobbles, get 2 Palkias in play, and really just put the pressure on Gustavo.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 copies, as we discussed before, of that Battle VIP pass. A huge proponent of Isaiah's deck, opting for the Iridas, the consistency, 4 of those cards in the deck. Because lining up that turn 1 is so essential, especially here in the mirror match. So here we go. Origin form, Palkia V hitting the bench here. Melanie actually attaching an energy here from the discard pile onto that Origin form, Palkia V on the bench. Drawing 3 cards after.
Got another energy card, so pretty easy choice to discard and draw 2 with concealed cards. Can still attach for turn. There's another water energy as well.
And an evolution incense.
No second Sobble, though, and that is not the strongest. But, you know, if you only get 1 Sobble in play, what's a great way to find some more? How about call for some friends here? Keep calling.
Here we go. Search your deck for up to 3 Rapid Strike Pokemon. Of course, it is going to be that little meditating Sobble that we've seen make an appearance in so many of our decks these past 2 days.
Yeah, I've seen people joke about how Keep Calling Sobble was the biggest impact card to this Drizzile Shady Dealings engine, because before this card came out, really nobody played Inteleon in their decks. Keep Calling
so
coming out just really opened up how strong this archetype could be, this support engine was.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. We are tossed back over to Gustavo now.
The next card was an Origin form Palkia V. 1 card away from getting that basic in play turn 1 and threatening a turn 2 attack. And now this will be a much, much weaker turn 2.
Yeah, we are sort of seeing the uphill battle here for Gustavo, unfortunately. But seeing that evolution into the Drizzile, into the Shady Dealings here. Martying now, both players shuffling up the hands. They're going to go to the bottom of the deck, so everything that was in hand for Isaiah is now going to be at the bottom. And Gustavo, having initiated the Marnie, is going to draw into 5 cards. Isaiah is going to be drawing into 4.
Here are the 5 for Gustavo. Does have that heavy ball, but I don't believe there were any basics in the prizes, so it's a pretty easy discard choice from the quick ball. Or 1 Sobble actually hiding in the prizes, but you know what, why not we just get rid of that heavy ball and grab another Palkia here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is definitely essential here. So 2 Origin form Palkia Vs on the bench now for Gustavo. Shuffling up here, Isaiah also shuffling. And
we do have a little update for the viewers at home. Sander has won his top 8 match 2-0 with the Mewtwo V Union. I know there are many people out there hoping to see more of that deck, and it sounds like we will soon in top 4.
Congratulations there to Sander. That is incredible. All right, tuning back into our matchup here. Capacious Bucket for Isaiah. Bradner searching out those 2 basic water energies.
This can get some more card draw with the concealed cards. Of course, activating things like Melanie potentially. Also, that Star Portal ability. Plays an Irida as well. This can get that basic water Pokemon, maybe the V-Star that he's missing right now.
Absolutely, because it doesn't have to just be a basic or anything like that. It can be any water Pokemon. So, yep, eyeing up that, oh, actually, it's a V.
It is,
Origin form, Palkia V here.
He's already got a V-Star in hand. That's why he's doing this.
That explains that.
And I wonder if he could go for a cross-switcher play this turn, potentially try to take 2 prizes this turn.
That would be incredibly strong if we did see that play out here.
I wonder if there's a path for Isaiah to go cross-switcher KO Palkia V, Boss's Orders KO Crobat V, and then reach for a big one-hit knockout on a Palkia V-Star to take his 3 knockouts necessary to win the game.
Oh my goodness, that would be intense if that did happen. All right, we do see the energy attachment there and the evolution for the origin form.
Oh, and this path is brutal. It's going to turn off Star Portal. It's going to turn off concealed cards. And here comes the origin form Palkia. Just sending that up before playing any cross switchers or anything like that. So maybe Isaiah is content targeting down this Drizzile. We saw this from him in the second game. Doesn't really care about chasing the prize cards, more so wants to target down Gustavo's draw power.
Absolutely. All right. So off the level ball, grabbing Manaphy here, which is pretty huge.
Absolutely. This is massive.
Very huge. They're shutting off the ability for any bench damage from that potential Radiant Greninja. All right. Path to the Peak now in play, which is also very huge, but being bumped immediately by Gustavo.
Finding the 1 copy of Training Court. I think that was his top deck for turn as well.
Incredible. Luck is on Gustavo's side, at least in that aspect, top decking that Training Court, going in with a Capacious Bucket to search out those 2 basic water energy, attaching one to the origin form.
Oh, he's got nothing.
Palkia V.
He's got an Inteleon, a Drizzile, a Palkia, and an Energy. He just has to pass to Isaiah. Now Isaiah is so far ahead, having concealed cards access, having access to the Training Court that Gustavo put in play as well. He's drawn into another cross-switcher. He's got all kinds of plays available here.
Yeah, I'm sure feeling much more comfortable in this matchup thus far. The board state is looking so strong here for Isaiah, evolving there into the origin form Palkia V-Star on the bench, and then just eyeing up the hand, seeing what, using the Training Court there to take that water energy back out of the discard pile and put it straight back into the hand, attaching it there to the benched origin form Palkia V-Star, running through the plays, the future plays. Here we go.
And that will be 220 damage exactly, taking a 2 prize knockout. Gustavo so far behind, using concealed cards, hoping to find something. Little Sobble is here to help, but is it enough? Here comes the Palkia V-Star and the energy. He can launch off an attack this turn. He also has Boss's Orders, but is the best thing to hit into just this active Palkia? He's really far behind here. It looks like it will just be likely an attack. We saw some dice getting prepared, but no, thinking about it for a moment, is Boss the play? Maybe Gustavo thinking through all of his options here.
Big side there as well. It's been sort of an uphill climb, but here is the Boss there on the Manaphy.
And what Gustavo wants to do with this is take the 1 prize here and try to set himself up to be able to utilize Radiant Greninja's Moonlight Shuriken at some point to take multiple prizes in a turn.
All right, so we did see, I think that was a top deck of the Tool Scrapper there from Isaiah, utilizing the Training Court there as well.
Getting an energy back to use concealed cards with. Now, I think Isaiah took the Zigzagoon off the prizes, and if that's the case,
he did.
He actually could reach for a 1-hit knockout on this Palkia. He would need Choice Belt, Galarian Zigzagoon, and Echoing Horn. That would put enough damage in play for him to get the KO. He's going to take a little simpler of a route for now, and it looks like target that Crobat. with boss's orders most likely, and this is also setting up a clear path for him to win. He can just cross switcher and KO any one prizer to close out and take his last prize.
Oh, this is incredibly intense here. I am literally shaking right now, Chip. This is incredible to watch too. This gameplay so far from both of our players has been so intense. All right, we did see the evolution here of that Inteleon into the Shady Dealings, grabbing that pal pad so far for Isaiah. And a quick ball.
That'll be the other choice. And Pal Pad can be played after Isaiah uses boss's orders this turn, because that's all he's going to need to close this game out. He'll need a boss onto that Crobat to close things out. And this is smart as well, targeting that Greninja right after Gustavo targeted down his Manaphy, making it so Gustavo is really having very few, if any, ways back into this game. Isaiah putting back now the boss's orders and the Irida. That means that he can either have the option to Irida for cross-switcher pieces or boss's orders for the game.
Yeah, just lining up potential plays in the future. Even though he is currently ahead, it is important to stay focused on your upcoming strategy and really lock this game up in a very confident way for Isaiah. So here we go. Energy attachment onto that Origin form. Palkia V-Star on the bench, benching another Sobble as well to the bench, adding to that damage.
Quick ball, discarding the Tool Scrapper. At this point, Isaiah just wants to discard anything that he does not want to draw off of Roxanne, because that is what Gustavo's only strategy to come back is going to have to be. He's going to be relying on that supporter to put Isaiah to just 2 cards, but that Training Court in play will mean Isaiah will also have concealed cards. He takes 1 prize, going down to just 2 remaining. We're getting close to the end here.
And the 2 remaining are pretty irrelevant prize cards at this point as well, that Heavy Ball and a Battle VIP. So everything that Isaiah potentially needs is out there. And here we go, as we said, Gustavo grabbing that Roxanne.
And it's going to be a Roxanne and pray.
ASAP.
Hopefully Isaiah does not find the game-winning combo of cards off of just these 2, but Isaiah has played this very well, thinned his deck excellently, put good cards back in with the Pal Pad. He simply needs to find boss's orders, cross-switcher, any of those combo of cards. There are already enough Pokemon in play for him to KO this Crobat on the bench. Let's see if he can do it. 2 cards to come. Is Isaiah going to take a look? No, leaving him face down. Waiting for his turn.
6 cards here for Gustavo. Playing still to as many outs as we can see here. Trying his best to maintain his composure and try to last in this game up in a really tough matchup right now.
This is not looking great for Gustavo, but we have to give him major props. Playing it out, trying to find the way back in, just proving he is one of the top competitors in this game, trying to identify any chance, any win condition he may have. He recognizes Greninja will be a part of whatever win con he has, so let's get that back into play with the Ordinary Rod. Concealed cards gets him a couple more to work with as well.
Here we go. 2 more cards being drawn to the hand.
All Isaiah is going to need is any search card, anything to get a Drizzile, an Inteleon, anything to get boss's orders, Irida, any of these pieces get him the game-winning combo. But here we go. Gustavo is able to actually pull off the Radiant Greninja, and he'll target 2 Sobbles. Drizzile is no longer an out for Isaiah. Battle VIP Pass and Zigzagoon are the draws, and a Cross-Switcher's his draw for turn. He doesn't have it.
Oh my goodness.
He can use Training Court, brings that energy back. He needs to draw into Cross Switcher here, or Inteleon, or
here we
Irida.
Go.
Let's
2
see
more
it.
cards.
1, 2, Bucket, and Evolution Incense. This can get the Inteleon Shady Dealings grabbing 2 cards. The boss's orders being 1, bringing up Crobat. Isaiah Bradner moving on to top 4 of the North American International Championships.
Absolutely incredible gameplay there from both of our players, and what an intense and exciting conclusion to that matchup, Chip.
I have chills, Boo, right down to the wire. Isaiah finding the cards he needs to close it out. Extremely well played by both